find you something to do. Niggas that don't like me clicking up, that's what dick suckers do. Flying in that new shit, we ain't flexing, we just sliding through, don't play with me.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Leak, and I'm back with another video, man. As y'all can tell by the title, today we're gonna be reacting to why can't Sweden get gang violence under control. This was a commented video. If you comment a video, I will react to the video. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Without further ado, we finna hop straight into this video, man, because I know I ain't without that talking. Oh, in the stairwell? That's how you gonna start the video off, bro?
Instead of shooting somebody in his leg, they shoot somebody in his head.
For me, this is nothing but terror.
People are now trying to get home earlier in the evening.
Well, you could say that Sweden is in a national crisis.
Sarihan still finds it difficult to go to the cemetery. Nearly 50 years ago, he left Turkey for Sweden thinking it was a peaceful country. Today, he's standing at the grave of his son, Serdar, who was shot by gangsters this past March. Sarihan is still in disbelief. Written on a stone are the words, "We miss you so much."
My son was more than a son to me. He was my best friend and companion. He was everything to me. A hard-working person with principles.
The real estate agent was shot dead in front of his wife and children in his house near Stockholm. Allegedly an act of retaliation. Serdar's son, Ömer's grandson, is allegedly involved with a gang and is suspected of having shot at the family home of a rock.
Wait, so he got killed because of his son, or the grandson was like the main? Wait, I'm confused. Hold on. So him on the screen, his grandson, the dudes who's hold on, I'm confused. His grandson, which is dudes, well, his dad is the dude who's in the grave. He's in a gang, so the grandson is in a gang. And they killed the dad out of retaliation, I think, is what he just said.
An act of retaliation. Serdar's son, Ömer's grandson, is allegedly involved with a gang and is suspected of having shot at the family home.
The way she worded that was so wrong.
A rival gang member.
They broadcast a photo of my grandson on the TV program Wanted. 3 hours later, my son was dead.
His grandson's alleged involvement in gang violence weighs heavily on Ömer. He and his family have had no contact with his grandson for years.
We put in a lot of effort so he could get a job and live a normal life. But unfortunately, he chose this path.
Gang wars have been spreading fear and terror in Sweden for years. In 2022, they claimed 62 lives, more than ever before. In Stockholm alone, the Wall Street Journal calculated that the murder rate per capita is 30 times higher than in London. Conflicts primarily revolve around turf wars in the drug trade. Sometimes it's simply about defending so-called honor. Most of the perpetrators hail from migrant communities. They shoot through apartment doors and at cars, throw hand grenades and plant bombs. An increasing number of innocent...
They be playing bombs. They are playing war. They acting like this shit is war zone. Like, what the fuck?
Cars, throw hand grenades and plant bombs. An increasing number of innocent people are killed as a result. The government is on high alert.
Sverige har aldrig förr.
Sweden has never experienced anything like this. No country in Europe has experienced anything like this. I've asked the national police chief and the commander of the army to join me. We want to see how the army is helping the police to fight against criminal gangs.
There aren't any soldiers patrolling the streets of Stockholm yet. But for investigative journalist Diamant Salihu, the government's announcement shows just how powerful the criminal networks in Sweden have become.
But there is one major conflict at the moment within a network called the Foxtrot network that has been divided in two fractions because of debt, because of internal conflicts, and they are now fighting each other to the death. A big problem that Swedish authorities have when it comes to dealing with this situation that we have at the moment is that the leaders that control a lot of the drug market, they are operating from abroad.
The police in Gosund, a suburb of the central Swedish city of Uppsala, have deemed it to be a high-risk area. According to Swedish reports, gangs like to recruit new members here. Boredom, a lack of respect toward law enforcement, and low sentences all make this easier for gangs. The area is filled with social housing apartments built in the 1960s and 70s. These days, immigrants make up most of the population. A majority of the 10,000 households here are considered low income. 15-year-old Ahmed takes us on a tour of Gotsunder. He was born in Iraq and came to Sweden with his parents 10 years ago.
People have so many prejudices against Gotsunder, but everyone who lives here is like family. We all get along well together.
After school, Ahmed hangs out on the streets with his friend Abed. Sometimes they go to one of Gotsunda's 2 youth clubs, which are open all day. Nobody wants to be filmed here. Ahmed says there are plenty of things to do for fun in the neighborhood, but many kids his age still turn to crime.
Yes, I have friends who get into things like that. Yeah. But I always try to stay away from that stuff. There's always a risk of getting pulled into something like that. I try not to stay out too late at night, and I prefer going out with a friend.
Ahmed's precautions are justified. In August, a 13-year-old boy was shot on a bus in Gotsunder. He goes to Ahmed's school. It's not only the victims who are getting younger and younger, it's also...
Wait, the dude was 13 who was just talking? What? How did a 13-year-old and him go to the same school? I thought he was like 16, 17, 18, 19.
in Gosund. He goes to Ahmed's school. It's not only the victims who are getting younger and younger, it's also the perpetrators. Gang leaders prefer to recruit 14 to 15-year-olds, who are typically paid the equivalent of a few €100 for their first errands. Later, they might be ordered to commit murder, which pays much more. The increasingly younger ages of new recruits shows the full extent to which the state and society in Sweden are failing, says expert Diamant Salihu. He's also a child of immigrants from Kosovo.
In Sweden, if you commit murder and if you're 16, you can get maximum 4 years in youth custody, where you can have access to an iPad and communicate with friends.
Wait, you kill somebody if you're 16 and you only get 4 years? What the fuck? In a youth camp? That's it?
You can get maximum 4 years in youth custody, where you can have access to an iPad and communicate with friends on the other side. So the risk is very low for the reward they can get, either money or quite often status.
These three social workers in Gosund take to the streets to prevent minors from falling into the clutches of gangs. Every evening at 6 p.m, they head to the shopping centre and talk to security staff, but, more importantly, to young people. Their message is simple. We're here for anyone who needs help. But sometimes the gangs are faster.
Yes, they are trying to recruit the younger people, but what we do is like we're going in the middle schools, like year 4 and 5, where they're like 10, 11 years old, and we try to teach them about the warning signs and what can happen, and also what is against the law and what's lawful, and what kind of support can you get. So obviously we can't give them exactly what the recruiters can, but we do try to offer them jobs, meaningful free time, positive role models, and stuff like that.
And unfortunately, they mostly live for the day or for the hour and think, oh, maybe I can get some status, maybe I can get some fast money. They don't see how it will turn out in the long haul. And that's what we really try to talk with them about.
Ahmed and Abed are still out and about on the streets. Everything is quiet in Gosund. The police are never far away. Their friends meet at a boxing gym, where self-defense exercises help relieve stress. Ahmed observes the goings-on, but his thoughts are focused on the rampant crime affecting his peers.
It's unnecessary and totally stressful. To constantly be on the lookout for police is no life at all. On the other hand, it's really easy to commit a crime. But you can be smarter than that.
According to a 2022 police report, only 1 in 4 fatal shootings get solved. The police department in Gosund thinks the criticism of its work is unjustified because their work is constrained by the law.
There's a law from 1942 that prohibits us from searching homes after 9 p.m. unless there are exceptional circumstances. Criminals don't get up until 9 p.m. these days. What worries us now is that so many innocent people are becoming victims of these conflicts, even though they have nothing to do with them.
Some are pinning their hopes on former criminals like Peter Svensson. Not only is he a reformed gang member, he also served 4 years in prison.
Burglary, drugs, and violent crimes. That was all part of it.
Today he runs a program for criminals who want to get out. The brutality of today's generation frightens him.
These days, it's about murdering people. It's gone to the extreme. In the past, they might have injured their opponent with a knife or shot them in the legs. The level of violence continues to rise. At the same time, we have parallel...
But you're more likely to die from a leg shot than from an upper body wound, though. That don't even make sense.
Violence continues to rise. At the same time, we have parallel societies in Sweden where a gang controls everything. They decide when you can leave the house, stop cars, and tell everyone to keep quiet.
For the right-wing populist party, the Sweden Democrats, now the second strongest party in the country, it's clear who's responsible for the creation of parallel societies and violence: migrants, and Muslims in particular. This video, produced by the party, claims that migration to Sweden has only led to high costs and more crime. They claim that Swedish families are forced to move to other cities to escape the violence. Ardalan Shekarabi is a former minister for the Social Democrats and a child of Iranian immigrants, and he disagrees.
But we cannot stop this development without making a lot of investments in crime prevention and a lot of investments in breaking the segregation in the Swedish society and creating a much more inclusive society where young people have a good chance to enter labor market and find a positive future for themselves.
Ahmed and his friend Abed don't see a future for themselves with the gangs of Gosund. Instead, a new recording studio in the youth centre has piqued their interest. Children and the young people from the district have already produced a hit song titled We Are Gosunda.
That's what we should focus on. That everyone is doing well. That everyone feels safe and at home.
For many years, Ömer Sarıhan also felt at home in Sweden. But since the violent death of his son, his feelings have changed. And he says there are many to blame.
First of all, it's the fault of the drug lords who ordered the murder and the criminals who carried it out. The third person at fault is my grandson, who got us into this situation in the first place. And finally, the authorities, who have been watching this go on for so long, when they should be protecting their citizens.
Ömer Sarıhan is not the only person who wants to feel safe again in Sweden.
You got a valid point. Well, guys, y'all let me know how y'all feel about that video down below. I think that was a cool video, man. Informative. I didn't even know they was just like police. I didn't know it was a law that police can't come in your house after 9. I did not know that. That's a crazy law in Sweden, I'm not gonna lie. Unless they got like some calls. I mean, I guess it's a good law, I guess, if you're not doing criminal activity, but like, I don't know. Y'all let me know what I should react to next. Like I said, that was a requested video. If you request a video, I will react to the video. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's your boy Leak. I'm out of here.